Director for External Affairs.
Good evening, dear viewers of Smart 24 TV. We are blessed to be once again with a topic of discussion that is to help someone outside there, the policy makers, to look at how we can steer the economic growth of the country. My name is Dr. Joseph Tindebwa, and we'll be having this topic of discussion that is discovering Uganda's economic potential via tourism and mineral resource opportunities. And together with our guests, we'll be having the major question of the evening, looking at whether Uganda government and citizen business investors will utilize tourism and mineral resources for economic growth. It's a pleasure to have you, our dear guests from the extreme end, Major Retired Awik Paula, our dear director from the NRM Secretariat. We appreciate for the work you do, sir. Kindly greet the viewers.
Good evening, viewers. As usual, nice to be with you again, and I hope we shall share what we have agreed on with you.
Thank you. Yes, alongside of me, we have Dr. Alon Kimesi, and he is the Dean Faculty of ICT, Senior Lecturer at Cavendish University. We appreciate the work you are doing for the country to build the human resource capacity, and also for the community service you come to offer, especially sharing information with the citizens. You may greet the viewers too.
Yeah, thank you very much, moderator and my colleague, Dr. Joseph, in the service.
Yes, sir.
I'm privileged to be here, ladies and gentlemen, or the viewers world over, and I'm excited to be here tonight. Thank you so much.
Thank you. While looking at this topic of discussion tonight, our aspiration as a television in this program, The Point, we deliberately chose to discuss, to have, relevant discussion for the country and for the region, those outside there, wherever you are across the world. And our aspiration is to one day, to achieve the major vision of, economic vision of the country, not only being a middle income earning status country, but yet even to aspire to be the first world country. Very soon we'll be celebrating independence, over 60 years, right? Because this is 222, and that's from 1962, 60 years of, is it 60 years of independence? That will be much more than that, 60 years, right? And of course we are aware that there are some countries which are first world economies, and currently we may not match a standard with them because for them they were independent, economically, politically, for over 100 years, 200 years. But again, we believe we are supposed to be drawing nearer not only where we are, lower middle income status, but maybe to the upper and possibly to the first world. So while looking at that, that's why I bring this background to reflect to where we are as a country in matters of the economy. And these countries which have made it to the first world economies, should be to our knowledge and the knowledge of the viewers to know that either at a family, at an individual level where we are talking about the GDP, the gross domestic product, and also at a national level, there must be potential areas which that here I have an economic opportunity to excel. Maybe all of us, the families we are coming from, you are aware that, either I'm having a job, but the job is not enough. I need to have, maybe I'm having agriculture, I'm having business. And finally, when I'm gathering what I can, which is my take home sustain me, then I'm strong. So we look at this topic tonight, that Uganda has various economic potentials. We compare ourselves with other countries, they have various economic potential. When you look at Kenya, they may tell you we do best the 5 priorities. The first top, maybe you are talking about agriculture, you are talking about ICT as you are from the ICT area, and others they are talking about even sports, like America and Germany. They believe that sports contributes greatly to the economic growth, including the oil resource. So having said that, it's a pleasure to bring this to our discussion for purpose of informing the policy makers and strengthening, tightening our belts on how we can run faster and grow, not crawl. It is our turn. Major, it's a pleasure. You may give us your insight into this discussion.
Yeah, thank you so much, moderator, and thank you, viewers. Now, as you have already said, indeed the topic discovering Uganda's economic potential via tourism and mineral resource opportunities is a well-placed topic because it is what we as a country are eager to see. Now, the presumption in this topic is that there are many resources, as you have said. And we, for the purposes of time and maybe in-depth discussion, we have chosen two. But it is good also to share with the viewers what are these other opportunities. The opportunities in Uganda are wide. You have this human resource as an opportunity itself. Because human resource, you have people who can work, who have the energy, who can produce. That is the resource. And we have natural resources. For example, we happen to be on equator, where the world is divided into two. That itself is a resource. I was passing at equator recently on Masaka Road, and I found a Mzungu excitedly jumping from the southern hemisphere to northern hemisphere, and he was taking a video recording to send back home. You can't imagine how, in some part of the world, they can't believe that there are some countries in the world where you can be in the south, the other second, then in the north, the other second. So all these are resources. We have sunshine. There are some countries like in Finland, where in a day they only have sunshine for 3 hours. The day is finished. We have sunshine here, that's the resources. We have mineral, of course, no doubt, that are very many. And tourism that we are mentioning. We have sports that we are talking about. Agricultural soil. Do you know that nearly 80% of the soil in Uganda can use it for agriculture without fertilizers? And this is a resource. We have natural water, Lake Victoria and other water. If you ever went to an ocean or even Mediterranean Sea, I was there when I went to Libya. You know that the water that you scoop from Mediterranean is much more than the soup that we have in meat. In fact, you have to distill and distill and distill for it to be drunk. Very, very salty water. But here we have natural water. And in fact, it is believed that the Third World War will be over fresh water. Forget about fighting over oil and whatever. The source of fresh water will be where the Third World War will be fought over. And here we have water even in our villages from the streams. You can even scoop and drink. So those are the resources we have. And we have the good temperature. There are some countries in the world, in the north and south, where you have to put on 8 layers. You have a vest, you have a shirt, you have a tie, you have a sweater, then you have the winter coat, and then you have the raincoat. Similarly down. So here we are living like you are living in heaven. So these are the resources that is good to enlighten and share with our viewers, because we take them for granted, and yet they are not things to be taken for granted. Now, therefore, it takes me now to opportunities. Now, if we talk of tourism and mineral, it is a wide range of ideas, items in there. So you have tourism for sightseeing, where you go. We have all the national parks, and we have all the sites, including the traditional area. Sites like where the kings are buried.
Cultural sites.
Cultural sites,
Yes.
the lakes that I have mentioned, the mountains and everywhere. So we have all these resources in that opportunity areas. And of course the minerals, it is talked that we have volumes and volumes of gold in Uganda that we have not tapped. Of late, people think we have just been buying from Congo, but we have volumes and volumes in Uganda as has been discovered. We have other minerals like copper, we have everything. Our copper in Clembe kind of died, but we have the resources. So, without going deep into this introductory part, I am just trying to emphasize to our viewers that Uganda is a very, very rich country. If we put our heads and hands together we are able to pull so far. Like you have said, it is generally agreed we haven't pushed at that pace. Because Uganda in the 60s was better than Singapore. See, Singapore is a first world country. China, which is now the second biggest economy, is just 73 years old.
73.
So there's no age gap between
no age
China
gap.
and us. China became China in 1949. Okay? When Mao Zedong started. So we have no excuse, really. We have to wake up and do what we must. Because the gap, how can you have a gap between China of 73 years and Uganda at 60, a gap of just 13 years? But we have ages of difference in our development. In our development, and not in development, but in the welfare of our people. The welfare of people are far different. Even if you measure how many calories they eat, how much protein they eat, or whatever diet they eat, the meal they eat, but the calories content they eat, or even our health services. So we really, if we look at the resources that we have, vis-a-vis the pace we have gone, we need to wake up.
We need to wake up. Before I go to Dr. Lon, I want to bring a pertinent question, which I will align it to governance. And you objectively stated it and appraised us that we need to wake up. One asks why there have been persistent, low, limited pace of growing faster to achieve what we need to achieve as a country, especially in the area of tourism, in the area of mineral resources. You mentioned them, I was able to come across of them, around 49 minerals. And we were comparing our country economic resource opportunities, reflecting on the existence of the country, Uganda, independence, and also the current ruling government, the 40 years. When you are sharing with the viewers, by 2026 I was counting, I was saying, wow, NRM will be finishing 40 years in 2026. So we are drawing towards that. What do you think have been the good steps achieved and maybe areas to improve in the area of tourism and also mineral resource?
I think there's also, I will answer that, but there's also a question you attempted to ask and shied away from it. You are kind of asking, why haven't we moved at this pace?
Yes, that's another good one.
Why haven't we moved at the pace in China? Of course, there are very many factors that made us not to have moved in that space. If you put the political context, you find that from independence, we were unfortunate to have taken a wrong political path by first the coup in 1971, and then we have continued with a lot of drawbacks because Amin, the whole country was blockaded and went into economic sanctions. Amin tried economic war, but it was a lost war. The economy went completely down. Then came the 79 war per se, with its disastrous effect. Then we had the 85 war. It also had its effect. So a big factor has been our political destabilization, our ability to manage our politics. And here we may not point fingers, but our ability to manage our politics brought us backward. But also look at it from the global aspect. The world economic arrangement at some point was not like at the time the Singapore grew up. At the time the Singapore grew up, the capitalist world were not that selfish as it is. The economy was drawn in a way that it favors the capitalist world in all aspects. So it brought us to our knees and we ended up in loans. So the unbalanced economic system. For example, if you look at the amount of coffee that would buy a Land Rover in 1960, could maybe be 100 kilos. But the same Land Rover now, you need 1,000 kilos. How? So the imbalance has continued and continued. The same Land Rover that they are making now costs 100 times as far as our goods. So you look at it in the global aspect. So there is both internal and external factors that has pulled us.
You are going to give us more in-depth into that. The good thing you have highlighted about it, and we are going to go into it in depth.
But your question is not answered. You asked me what has been done and what is what.
Yes, we will.
Let's push that because I thought
we will have the second session. In the second session, prepare that content, and then we'll be able to share it. Please, you can give us your input into this discussion.
Yeah, thank you very much, moderator, and I still welcome the viewers. I think in the same footings with my colleague here, the major, has really given the preamble and even the wider scope that has given. But my approach here, I will take this perspective about the topic of discussion tonight. I could say I'll discuss what it is right now and what it ought to be. I think that's how I may approach it. What it is right now, Major has said it somehow, but maybe also I'll approach it from the statistical point of view. We can see in Uganda, or the government of Uganda, and even world over, we are seeing that 1 in 4 jobs created in Uganda and world over, they are coming from tourism plus mineral. Okay, that is one thing that the viewers have to appreciate. So, and then also the statistics are that 10% of our GDP from Uganda is coming from tourism and also minerals, and which is not far away from the world perspective, which is 10.6% of the GDP of the whole world also is coming out from the tourism sector and the mineral industry. And then another thing, what is it now, right now? We can say, if in terms of the benefits, we can say that it gives a branding, not so? A branding to the country, or it gives a branding which we are calling the image. I think the recent caption that we had in Uganda, it was Nyege Nyege, not so? Which brought issues, even the members of parliament, I think, they were not understanding, but maybe I may want to make them understand that Uganda is beyond right now, because right now we're on the air. We are having people viewing us all over the world. So I liked it, the guys who backed up the thing about Nyege Nyege. I think it made my
the one which was hosted in Jinja.
Yes, it made my region Busoga. People got money. I think the banks ran crazy. If somebody can attest it.
Seriously?
Yeah, the money they collected, because I was told the least payment was 150,000 and the highest was 550. Why was it that? Because the money was being paid in dollars, and this is coming from the tourists.
So now, Prof, yes. Doctor, yes. If we were now supporting Uganda tourism sector that contributes the high percentage of our GDP, yes. How could you want the government and the citizen to allocate the resources in order to support a sector that matters very much, especially the tourism aspect? And I'm drawing that question from the point you've raised. Referring to Nyege Nyege, should we just easily take up, I will not make it a major discussion, yeah. But yet it is relevant. And there are other spotted areas, to your recommendation or your view, which can steer up our tourism sector, other than some kind of unpredictable functions and celebration that may be a threat to the social, cultural, well-being of our people. Because it left instability in the mind, emotional instability in the mind of many to know what Nyege Nyege was all about. And there are other areas that we would like to identify as economic potential for tourism before we talk about the mineral resources. I
think you are drawing me into what I said, what it ought to be, and okay. That is proposing that what we may want to do is to support the local people, which we are talking about the local content. And I'm liking the NRM the theme, buy Uganda, that build Uganda, buy Uganda, build Uganda. I think right now what is going on here at the showground, I think they are trying to show what we are having, to showcase that we are having. Is one way supporting the local people, the local communities. Like for example, yes, we discovered in Jinja, people go there. So what does it mean? Maybe the policymakers, they can support the people because in the parliament, they will say, people around Busoga, please, we saw there was this kind of activity. The local people let us empower you with the money.
Yes.
Or they can put for them the roads, good roads.
So you are talking about the local content.
Yeah, the local
so
content.
I will humbly request you, I know I will give you more time in the second session. Yeah. You hold on a bit as we go for a short commercial break, and you give us more in-depth of how to package the local content and relate it to tourism. Yes. That can enhance our economic growth. Stay tuned on Smart 24 TV. We are going on with the point. Thank you.